am reacting to your Friday Night SmackDown hot takes. And your hot takes about everybody getting released during SmackDown as well. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you follow me on X because I ask for your hot takes after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And don't forget, if you want even more than just the daily content that we do here, go check out the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, we just uploaded our review of this particular episode of Friday Night SmackDown, alongside with so much more extra content that can never get uploaded here because we use footage and we can't show footage here on YouTube because then it gets blocked because of copyright reasons. So go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap, link in the description, as well as a link in the pinned comment. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's read your SmackDown stupid shit. Calling people up from NXT when there's nothing for them to do on the main roster is stupid. Blair could have at least been feuding for the Women's United States Championship or even the Women's North American Championship, but now she's gone. Wishing her the best in her next chapter. So I obviously agree with the statement. Don't call people up from NXT to the main roster if you have absolutely zero plans for them. I just don't understand what is the point of calling these people up to the main roster to just sit in catering, have no matches, have no TV time, get to cut no promos, and just do nothing. In my opinion, just keep those people on NXT, and if you see no long-term potential with them in the main roster, then just release them while they're still in NXT, because calling them up kind of sounds like you're giving them a promotion, doesn't it? And when you're giving somebody a promotion, me and the rest of WWE fans want to know why they're getting called up to the main roster. We want to see what they're all about, but in many cases, unfortunately, like here with Blair Davenport, we never really get to see what they're about. And it's sad that this is becoming a thing that's unfortunately quite common. It happened with Blair Davenport, then before that with Baron Corbin, then before that with Dijak, then before that with Cameron Grimes. It's an unfortunate pattern that continues to repeat itself. And it is especially confusing with Blair Davenport because Blair Davenport should have just never been called up in the first place when she was, considering she was called up immediately before they introduced the Women's North American Championship on NXT, where she would have been a perfect player in there. And I feel especially bad for Blair Davenport because there are scenarios where people get called up, they get their opportunity, and they just don't work. Blair Davenport didn't get that. What did she get? Like 3, 4 total matches? And I don't even think I'm exaggerating there. So it's a shame to see her go, especially because there are new vehicles that could give opportunities to women like Blair Davenport on the main roster, like the Intercontinental Championship, like the US Championship, which desperately needed somebody like a Blair Davenport, by the way, because all we have is Chelsea Green and Michin. Either way, I feel bad for Blair Davenport. I wish her the best, and I'm confident that she's gonna land somewhere and do fantastic. We don't want Cody fighting the Bloodline again. I'm on this boat. I don't want to see Cody versus Solo Sikoa again. Cody versus Solo Sikoa, the first go around, wasn't particularly very good. The reason why it was exciting was because it was waiting for the ever-looming return of Roman Reigns. But now that Roman is back, there's like literally zero intrigue between Cody and Solo Sikoa, in my opinion. Especially with Solo Sikoa not being the head of the table. Like, what the hell does Solo bring to the equation now? I'm also being very selfish here because it sounds like they're going to be doing Solo versus Cody at Elimination Chamber, a show that I plan on going. The previous show that I went to was SummerSlam, which was also main evented by Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes. I just don't want to see that again at back-to-back PLEs that I attend. But it is a shame seeing Cody Rhodes go from one of his best feuds of his entire career in that fantastic feud against Kevin Owens, which culminated in an unbelievably unforgettable ladder match, to going back to what WWE is clearly just comfortable in, which is Cody Rhodes battling the Bloodline in this never-ending fucking vortex. The Drew, Jimmy, and LA Knight segment was excellent, and it definitely should have opened or closed the show. So I obviously understand why Cody, Jay, and the Bloodline stuff and the return of Solo Sikoa, why that was the main event. It's just got so many big names, the big return, and 2 potential WrestleMania Night 2 closers in there. But this was the best thing that happened all night. The interactions between Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, and Jimmy Uso were genuinely fantastic. The promo that Drew cut talking about how Raw was a toxic workplace and that now he's a much better version of himself now on Friday Night SmackDown. Jimmy Uso going out there and reminding the world that he might actually just be better on the microphone than his brother Jay, and LA Knight being LA Knight, kind of breaking the fourth wall. He was just fantastic. All three were fantastic. The match was fantastic. The ending to the match was fantastic. This was great all around, and I feel like this probably should have opened the show. All of the releases kind of began to ruin SmackDown a bit for me. It sucks seeing all the talent go, especially when they try to shove it under the rug during show/big announcements. So I've noticed this. This is a thing that WWE has done over the last little while, where big releases get announced during SmackDown or during Raw, and it absolutely does dampen the mood, especially my mood, considering I'm live streaming to thousands of people on Twitch and on YouTube, and we're all focused on all of the releases that are happening as opposed to actually focusing on the show itself. So I agree, just don't do these in the middle of shows. Do these in the morning, in the middle of the afternoon. Just don't ruin, a good episode of SmackDown with all of this terrible news surrounding us. No Io in the chamber is ridiculous. Obviously, things could change, but as of now, all of the qualifiers are set. Maybe she faces Rhea Ripley at Elimination Chamber, but that match should be at WrestleMania in my opinion. So I agree with what you said there at the end. It sounds like they might be leaning towards doing a Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky match at Elimination Chamber. To me, that's a consolation win for Io, because Io absolutely should be going after this championship at WrestleMania because she's just too damn good. I do have hope, because of how she lost, that she could still be inserted into a triple threat match, considering that many of the qualifier matches, some of them are one-on-one matches, some of them are triple threat matches. So there is room somewhere in here to maybe throw Io Sky into a last-minute opportunity, even though all of the matches to determine all of the entrants into the Elimination Chamber have been set. I have hope. I don't know if I'm being delusional, but I feel like for Io Sky, it is worth being delusional here. Io Sky deserves to be in this match, not even just because I, in my brain, believe that she should be in the main event of WrestleMania fighting Rhea Ripley for that championship, but because she's just so perfect in these types of gimmick matches. There's a reason why Io Sky is always like the best thing coming off the back of every women's War Games matches, because she steals the show, and the chamber structure is perfectly set for Io to do the same thing again. Put Jacob in the chamber. Jacob in the chamber would be absolutely nutty, and just waiting for his pod to open in itself would feel like such a major moment. I would love for Jacob to be in the chamber. Unfortunately, he's in a match to qualify against Braun Strowman and Damian Priest, a match that, holy shit, ladies and gentlemen, and people from all over the world, that match is going to steal the show next week and might end up being one of the best free TV matches of the year if it plays out the way that many of us are anticipating that it's going to play out. But I'm also anticipating that it's going to end in Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman murdering each other, opening up the window for Damian Priest to win, because Damian Priest just wins, all right? Damian Priest doesn't lose these days anymore. So I don't foresee Jacob Fatu being in the chamber. I feel like, if anything, he's going to be part of this storyline going on with Solo and Cody, but it'd be sick to have Jacob Fatu in the chamber. Why are Bianca and Naomi, parentheses, she's winning next week on the Elimination Chamber? It's criminal that they left Io out and will give her a pity match against Rhea at Chamber. This was a Mania match. Jose, I hate these types of thoughts and mentalities. I love that you love Io. I love that you want to see Io in the main event of WrestleMania, but you absolutely don't need to put others down in order to elevate Io. You also ask a stupid question. Why are Bianca and Naomi, which, as you said, isn't even in the chamber match, by the way, why are they in the chamber? Because they're two of the biggest stars that the women's division has. I'm sorry you don't like them, but they are two of the biggest draws and merch movers that the WWE has in the women's division. I guess I maybe get you questioning Naomi, who's a former world champion in her own right and was great at last year's Elimination Chamber, but I honestly just don't understand how you could even question Bianca Belair. You want to really understand why Bianca Belair is in the Elimination Chamber? Because she's Bianca motherfucking Belair, dude. One of the most popular WWE superstars in the entire fucking company, not just the women's division. We're talking about a cover athlete of last year's 2K WWE video game, and you really want to sit here and ask me why she's in the chamber? That's why. I just personally don't like when people try to bring up their favorites by bringing down the people that they don't like. I love your enthusiasm for Io, but you don't need to be so negative and pessimistic about the others that you don't like as much. Jimmy Uso will be the next United States champion. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. He has the total package, and both brothers holding the titles maybe at the same time would be cool. So out of everybody that I'm seeing in the SmackDown mid-card, a mid-card that's really hot right now, even though the champion isn't a part of this really hot mid-card, out of everyone in that SmackDown mid-card, card, the one making the biggest leaps forward is Jimmy Uso. He's quickly reminding the world that he's pretty damn good on the mic. He's a great character worker, and he's pretty solid in the ring as well. And because his brother Jay won the Royal Rumble and is very likely to have a celebratory moment winning the World Heavyweight Championship from Gunther at WrestleMania, I could see a world where they put the US Championship earlier on in the night on Jimmy Uso so that we can have the two brothers celebrating under confetti, which is poetic, not just because they're brothers who have been grinding as tag teams for years and years and years and are finally finding single stardom and success, but because in the previous WrestleMania, they were trying to super kick each other's heads off in one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history, in my opinion. Big Jim is the better Uso. Better as an all-around performer, wrestling skills and mic skills are better, and he is more funny and entertaining. Let's not forget that he wore his Yeet shirt in 2021. He is the OG Yeet Uso. I mean, it's funny seeing this picture circulating around the internet wrestling community, especially after the promo from Drew McIntyre, where he ruthlessly told Jimmy Uso that, hey, look around, maybe this could have been you if you had said Yeet first, which is hilarious and kind of maybe true. I don't know. Because I do believe that the reason why Jay became as popular as he did was that press conference. That conference absolutely catapulted him into superstardom. And that popularity led to a catchphrase. And when you have popularity in a catchphrase, you become a merch selling machine. And when you become a merch selling machine, the WWE wants to do everything in their power to push you to the goddamn moon. So maybe in an alternate reality, in a different time and space, we would be talking about main event Jimmy Uso. Blair Davenport being released just goes to show that NXT needs to be officially the third brand, especially now that Evolve is back. Too many great wrestlers are being released because they are being called up into an already stacked roster and shows leaving them with no role. I kind of agree with this sentiment. I feel like it's kind of silly to even consider NXT to be the developmental of the WWE when NXT in itself right now has some of the most talented wrestlers on the planet today with more experience than many of the people that are on the main roster. And it's especially silly to think of NXT as developmental now, especially when you have an actual developmental brand that is going to feed talent to NXT. So how can a brand that takes developmental talent be considered developmental? I don't see that. But yeah, I think it would be cool if NXT would be considered more like the proper extension of the main roster. And if that's the case, we should just do away with the call-ups or the draft in general and just allow the free-flowing motion like we're doing right now with this transfer portal between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, so that when you see somebody from NXT appear on a different show, there's actually something for them. You're not just forcing call-ups to happen because it's the time of the year for call-ups to happen. Look at what they're doing, for example, with the Metaphor Girls, where they appear on the main roster from time to time to have storylines there that make sense. Or look what's going on with Roxanne Perez, where she's having a ready-made feud for her when she gets moved over or called up to the main roster in this feud that she's got going on with Bayley. I feel like they're already, even if it's unintentional, making great strides at fixing this issue of failing NXT call-ups with the transfer portal. Because like I said, the transfer portal doesn't force you to move people from NXT to the main roster. You could do it if you want to. And not only could you do it, but you should do it in the event that you actually have something for them on the main roster. I thought that Sonya deserved a solo run. Don't understand why PFC got a spot in the Rumble just to be released the next week. AOP and Blair I get for their various reasons, but this one shocked me. I won't lie, I was also surprised that Sonya Deville was released because she was a part of pretty much every single episode of Monday Night Raw, whether it was in matches, promos, backstage segments, whether it was off TV segments that were featured on social media. Sonya Deville was heavily featured. And then not only was she heavily featured on Raws, she was heavily featured at the Royal Rumble, where her and PFC got a really solid run. Funny enough, in my Royal Rumble review, I said that was the best that PFC had ever looked, that they did more to legitimize themselves as a scary threat to the women's division with their performance in the Rumble than anything that they did over the last several months with their attempt to get them over on Monday Night Raw. So it's kind of sucky for me to finally finally understand and see the vision of PFC, only for them to dismantle it. I guess the only, silver lining here is that this maybe frees up somebody like Zoe Stark, somebody that I think has a lot of untapped potential, to allow her to sink or swim on her own merit now. One segment in, and the heel profits is already better than their last attempt, in my opinion. I hope that they can do good with this turn. I'm legitimately so interested to see more of this side of Angelo and Montez. If they can keep this going, tag team gold should be won. So I'm on board. This promo was fantastic, and this is the most tuned in and dialed in that I've ever been on the Street Profits. This is also just so good for the SmackDown tag team division, who is now creating layers within the division, because now you have championship feuds, which was what we have with DIY and Pretty Deadly, and somewhere else we have adjacent feuds that can feed into the championship feud with what we're going to have here between the Profits and Motor City Machine Guns. And don't forget the ever-looming presence of Berto and Garza and Santos Escobar. They're really building like a proper universe in the SmackDown tag team division, and I'm so happy for it. I just want to see Raw do the same damn thing. Truth, GOAT never fails when it comes to entertainment. So did they ever properly announce this? But is R-Truth part of Friday Night SmackDown? I've only been seeing him on SmackDown over the last several weeks in segments that have been absolutely hilarious, and this was no exception. Him thinking that Jey Uso had just won the King of the Ring, masterpiece. We finally got a good promo from Charlotte. The ones that she did on Raw and NXT were just not good and left a lot to be desired. But with this one, I'm now interested in her. Also, heel Charlotte versus heel Tiffany would definitely work, since people are going to cheer for Tiffy anyway. I loved what you said here at the end. Heel Tiffy versus heel Charlotte. I see that vision. It works for me, because I believe that Charlotte is such a giant piece of shit dickhead that nobody wants to see win, that even a lesser piece of shit, still a dickhead, Tiffany Stratton as a heel, could be the babyface here without forcing a cringy character change for Tiffany Stratton like they did with The Miz all of those years ago. So this is the vision. Make Charlotte so unlikable, such an awful individual, such an awful human being that just believes that she is better than everyone else, that even the evil Tiffany Stratton is going to get cheered and get the biggest pop of the night over Charlotte. But I agree with you. This was the most, interested that I've been in Charlotte since she's come back. I love that she pretty much entirely leaned into the heel persona. I hope that they throw out any notion of her being a babyface, because it's just not gonna work. And my favorite line was just how superior she saw herself above Tiffany Stratton, even though Tiffany Stratton was the champion. It's kind of interesting to see the champion Tiffany Stratton look like an underdog compared to this never-dying monster that is the super powerful presence of Charlotte Flair. And I love when Charlotte said, no, like, if you want me to pick you at WrestleMania, you need to get down on your hands and knees and beg. I love that. So I'm glad WWE's figuring it out. It doesn't matter what she does or what she says. Like, we're just not going to cheer for Charlotte. With the release of Authors of Pain and Paul Ellering, this frees up Karrion Kross to do more with this character and have full-fledged feuds, and hopefully a great singles run with Scarlett as his manager/advocate. Here's the thing, like, Final Testament was always the Karrion Kross show, just with other bodies to be able to have feuds with other factions. I don't foresee a lot of change to the way that they've been using Karrion Kross. What I do foresee is the types of individuals that he has feuds with, because now he can't have feuds with teams or factions. He has to have feuds against other individuals, which we're already seeing as he's already starting to plant seeds in the likes of Sami Zayn in what would be a very high profile feud for Karrion Kross. Final Testament never worked. It never was able to get over, both from interesting storylines or matches. But Karrion Kross, even in the light of poor storytelling and booking with the Final Testament, was always at the very least a tiny bit interesting. And one of the things about Karrion Kross now especially is that he gets a little bit of TV time, but he maximizes the hell out of that TV time. And that to me is incredibly impressive, because he always leaves a lasting reminder, a lasting mark with viewers, even if he's only on TV for 30 seconds. Kevin Owens just cut one of the best promos of the year in 2 minutes. The emotion and understandable reasoning behind this is complete cinema. I loved this promo. I agree with you. I feel like this is going to be one of the best promos of the year. It's so easy to get behind this Kevin Owens, and it's so fascinating seeing the actions, the physical manifestation of his thoughts, making him a heel because of who he's going after. But then when he lays out the rationale style and his thought process, you can see this doesn't come from a hate of malice or hate. This comes from a person that's like genuinely hurt inside. And the way that he laid it out, where he said that you just sat there, Sammy, while Cody Rhodes tried to not just end my career, but maybe potentially end my life. You sat there and you didn't try to help me. Meanwhile, when your number got called for the Rumble, you sprinted down to the ring to help Roman Reigns. What does that say about you as a friend? What does that say about the value that my life and my career holds compared to what you value Roman's to be? And when you lay it out like that, I'm going to say it again. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Owens is right. I may be in the minority here, and it's okay if I am, but I don't think Alexa Bliss needs the Wyatt Six. If she wants to be part of it because of her connection to Bray, then we should respect that. But I just don't think that it's necessary for her to be involved into the group. But Phil, I don't know why I'm talking like Gunther there. Phil, you're not seeing this correctly. No one believes that Alexa Bliss needs the Wyatt Six. Everyone believes the opposite, that the Wyatt Six desperately needs Alexa Bliss. Let's just put it out into the open. Let's call a spade a spade. The Wyatt Six hasn't worked since their debut, and I'm one of the biggest Wyatt Six supporters and apologists that's making YouTube videos on this platform. I love the debut. I was so optimistic. I love the storytelling in the first couple of weeks of them appearing on TV. I love the vignettes. I love the glitches. I love the videotapes that they released. It was all so good, and I even really liked the feud and the program that they worked with Chad Gable and American Made. But then beyond that, it just has not worked. It has not landed. That feud with The Miz and the Final Testament was so bad. It was just bad TV. It was uninteresting. The storytelling was bad. The promos weren't good. The matches were some of the worst matches of the entire night. There was no clear course direction for what they were doing with that feud. It was so bad that it seemed like WWE just sort of unceremoniously pulled the plug on the feud, sent the Wyatt Six to SmackDown, and sent AOP to the unemployment line. So that leaves us with Alexa Bliss. Do I think that Alexa Bliss needs the Wyatt Six? Hell no, bro. It's Alexa freaking Bliss. She can do whatever she wants. People are going to love whatever she does, whatever she peddles to us. We're all going to get behind. But the Wyatt Six, that's not the same case. But if they add Alexa Bliss, then all of a sudden I'm back on board, and so are a lot of people. I'm getting tired of having hope for Shinsuke as the US champion, and this close to WrestleMania, he should be having more screen time than just standing in the background. I agree with you, and it's especially more painful to see just how hot the SmackDown mid-card can be when you've got the likes of Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, Braun Strowman, Damian Priest is in that conversation, LA Knight, Jimmy Uso. Like, the division is cooking. The people in the division are getting great matches, great segments. Let's not forget Carmelo Hayes as well. But unfortunately, the division is flourishing without the champion. It's like the division doesn't need Shinsuke Nakamura. And that's a problem, because if they don't need Nakamura, then they don't need Nakamura as champion, which in my eyes means that his days as a champion are numbered. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Get out of here.